Dibin sir,
We can start.
shall we start?
Yes. So next is about crystal field theory. After valence bond theory about the complexes, the later coming theory is crystal field theory. Okay, so we have discussed about what are the major limitations of valence bond theory for complexes, and some of them are rectified by this crystal field theory, that is CFT. Okay, so actually this theory explains why this for six coordinated ligands how they are forming octahedral geometry, and for four coordinated why they are forming tetrahedral, and some of them why they are forming square planar. What is the difference between tetrahedral and square planar geometry? What are the consequences they are differentiating from tetrahedral to square planar? Okay, for the same metal, for only for the difference in the ligands, they will differentiate it into from tetrahedral to square planar. Why all this happening? That is clearly explained by crystal field theory. Okay, actually in crystal field theory, why they what they are considering is the bond is making between the metal and the ligand is purely they are considering as ionic. Okay, they are not at all considering any other kind of interactions. They purely considering the interactions between metal and the ligand is to be ionic. Okay, that is what the major important consideration why we are going with this crystal field theory. Okay, now we can go for the theory and the geometry and all those things. Right. So this is the free metal. This is the free metal. These are the five different orbitals of the metal, different d orbital of the metal ion. When the ligands are getting approaching, when the ligands, that is when the ligands are approaching to the metal ion, obviously the energy get raised. Okay, after the complexization, this is when ligands approach. Okay, After the complexization, some energy would come here, some would be goes higher to this. And this is we are naming as T2G, and this is we are naming as EG. So the different d orbitals are dxy, dyz, dxz, dx square minus y square, and dz square. So the T2G orbitals are dxy, dyz, and dxz. EG orbitals are dx square minus y square and dz square. This is the barycenter. From this line, these three orbitals are lower to this barycenter, which means they are that much stabilized. Okay, so the value would be minus 2 by 5 delta O. Okay, what is the value of 2 by 5? 20 by 50. You just calculate, it's may around 0.4 or something. And these two orbitals are this much above to the barycenter, that is 3 by 5. 3 by 5 delta O sign would be positive. This positive and negative sign implies this much of stabilization. Negative sign implies stabilizing, and positive sign implied destabilizing. Destabilizing.
Sir, bottom not visible. Okay.
Why those three orbitals are coming down and why those two orbitals are going up, that will explain after this. Okay, so in the d orbital we have first 5 orbitals. They are collectively combined to form a d orbital. So among these 5, 3 of them are lied in the plane. You know what are the orbital shapes of d orbitals, right? So 3 of them, are dxy, dyz, and dxz. These are the plane or planar orbitals that placed in the respective planes, respective axes. Okay, dxy, the axis would be x and y. They are placed in the planes. Okay, and dx square minus y square and dz square, these orbitals are placed in the axis. Okay, now this is the case. Ready? When the ligands are forming octahedral complexes. Octahedral complexes means there will be a 6 ligand. There will be 6 ligands are approaching this metal ion. So what are the possible ways in which the 6 ligands can approach? So this is the axis, right? And which means this is x, this is y, and one more axis is perpendicular to this, that is z axis. So I am writing this along this. Okay, this is z axis. So the 6 ligands can approach the metal ion through axis. One from here, other is from here. One from here, other is from here, and one from above to the plane, and the other is from below to the plane. So these are the 6 positions that are available to approach the metal ion by the ligands. So all are through axis. Okay, so what is happening is already 2 orbitals are take part, or 2 orbitals are laid in the orbit axis, and the other 3s are laid in the plane. The ligands, actually, what is ligands? They are electron-rich species. Okay, they are coming with a lot of electrons, and our d orbitals also have some sort of electrons and some kind of electron density. Okay, so while this ligand orbital approaching to the metal orbital, what will happen? The major repulsive interactions is happening along through the axis, because ligands are approaching through the axis. So the orbital present in the axis of the metal ion will experience more repulsion than that present in the planes. Okay, some of them are present in the plane, so they are not much affected by the approach of ligand. Okay, so that is why, so in order to minimize this repulsion, there would be a repulsion. So in order to minimize the repulsion, what will happen is, so that orbital in the axis, the metal d orbital in the axis will goes to some higher energy in order to minimize this repulsion. That 2 orbitals are Eg orbital, dx square minus y dz square. That is why they are somewhat destabilized from the barycenter by the amount of plus 3 by 5 delta O. Delta O is the splitting, crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes. And the other 3 orbitals are in the planes. So they are somewhat stabilizing with respect to the orbital present in the axis. Okay, we are just making comparison with the orbitals are present in the axis and present in the plane. Just only that. Okay, so the 3 orbitals present in the plane, they are somewhat stabilized by the value of minus 2 by 5 delta O. They are dxy, dyz, and dxz. I think you people are aware of this concept. I think you all of it understood. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the case of octahedral complexes. Ready? Whereas in the case of tetrahedral complexes, what happening in tetrahedral complexes? Only 4 ligands are approaching, right? So if you are considering the axis again, this is the axis. So one ligand is coming in this way. So obviously, in order to minimize the neutrality principle, other should be from in this direction. Okay, if the other third one is coming in this way, the other also should be coming in this way also. Okay, so one plane is totally unbalanced. Okay, this is neutralized by this one, and this is neutralized by this one. So this Z plane is completely in an unbalanced state. Okay, if this is the situation. So, but this is not the situation. The situation is just they are in from approaching through the planes. The 4 of them are approaching through the plane. Okay, so now what will happen after the approach? The axis, the orbital present in the axis is lie down, and other is goes up. Okay, so now this is T2, this is E. This is for tetrahedral complexes. The axis orbital comes down, the planar orbitals goes up. Why means now here the ligands are approaching through planes. So the orbital present in the plane would experience more repulsion. So in order to minimize this repulsion, it would increase the energy and go in higher energy level. That is what happening in tetrahedral complexes. Here I didn't written as T2G and EG, but in the case of octahedral complexes, I have written as T2G and EG. So that G symbol represents, it is a group theoretical concept, presence of inversion center of node. I think you might have been studied about this group theory, symmetry elements, symmetries, different kinds of symmetry possible for a molecule. I think you might have, right? Hello? Have you studied this group theory, symmetry elements, symmetry names, point group, like that?
പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് sir.
Yes, yes, okay. So you know what is an inversion center? I, represented by I. Alle? So if a molecule has inversion center I, and there is a group multiplication table also have been studied, right? GMT, group multiplication table. Have you studied? I think for water and ammonia, you people might have been studying this group multiplication table.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. So likewise, we have a character table also. The same way of generating this group multiplication table, we have some character table also. In that character table, there is a digit notation: 1, -1, 0, 2, 3. Up to 3 is the maximum value that I have been in the character table. Okay, so from the data in the character table, we can analyze that whether the molecule are in G type or U type. Okay, anyway, we will have a discussion, a small discussion on that in group theory aspects. Now you just keep in mind that if a molecule possesses, or the molecule having the inversion center only should be represented with a G, which means this tetrahedral compound is lack of inversion center. But the octahedral complex is have some inverse, not some, they have inversion center of geometry, but in tetrahedral complex we couldn't able to find this inversion center. I think you people got it. Okay, now the relationship between the splitting in tetrahedral and octahedral complexes. And in the same way, I have to add a note that for square planar complexes also, the number of ligand is same. That is 4 only. Okay, then what made the molecule is going from tetrahedral to a square planar complex? That is, the geometry is, so means the number of ligand is 4. That is NiCl4 2 minus is tetrahedral, whereas NiCl4 2 minus is square planar, whereas NiCO4 2 plus is tetrahedral. 2 plus NiCO4 is tetrahedral. So what is the difference among these three? Hello? All are nickel complexes. Only they are differentiated by ligands. How do they are differ in their geometry? Anyone? Hello? Hello? Do anyone have any answer?
Sir, distortion സംഭവിച്ചല്ലേ സാർ ഇങ്ങനെ സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്?
ടെട്രാഹീഡ്രലിന് ഡിസ്റ്റോർഷൻ സംഭവിച്ച സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനർ ആവുമോ?
അങ്ങനല്ലേ? അങ്ങനെ ആവാനാണ് സാധ്യത.
ടെട്രാഹീഡ്രൽ is entirely different from square planar. ടെട്രാഹീഡ്രലിന്റെ ഒരു വകഭേദവും അല്ല സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനർ. നമുക്ക് ഒക്ടാഹീഡ്രലിന്റെ വേണമെങ്കിൽ പറയാം. ഒക്ടാഹീഡ്രലിന്റെ മുകളിലുള്ള രണ്ട് പൊസിഷൻസ് റിമൂവ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനർ എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ വേണമെങ്കിൽ പറയാം. But it is entirely different from tetrahedral geometry.
Contribution of electrons.
Contribution of electrons. That is because of the ligands. That is what you meant. Hello? This is nickel chloride. So here it is chloride. But here it is cyanide group. So you know what is now the spectrochemical series is the arrangement of ligands from weak to strong. So as far as that series is concerned, chlorine is weak ligand, whereas cyanide is strong ligand. When this metal is bonded with a strong ligand, that will give square planar complexes. That is what you meant. Hello? Who was that? I didn't see his name.
Yes, yes.
Okay. But what about this one? Carbonyl group. This is also strong that much enough to CN, right? But this will give tetrahedral. Did you find any difference? Hello? Actually, there is a
electronic configuration.
Yes, yes. What is Meera? You can tell.
Electronic configuration എഴുതുമ്പോ hybridization വഴി കിട്ടത്തില്ലേ? Square planar ആണെന്ന് tetrahedral ആണെന്ന്.
Pair ചെയ്തതുകൊണ്ട്. Okay, from here to here you can explain that way. Okay, this is weaker, so it cannot give that pairing energy, but this will give enough energy to get paired. So this will give square planar. This is weak one. That is why it is still tetrahedral. That you can say. I'm asking that this is also a stronger one, but doesn't give square planar geometry. Why it is so?
Sir, adile oxidation state of nickel 0 alle.
Yeah, so you can explain that way. In these two complexes, nickel is in +2 state, that is D8 configuration. Here it is in nickel is in 0 oxidation state, that is D10 configuration. So all D10 configuration, even if you are looking for zinc, mercury, cadmium also, they will majorly form TD, tetrahedral complexes. They will not form octahedral complexes because they are almost that much small. Okay, so accommodation of six ligands in the atmosphere in around to this metal is completely making unstable system. Okay, so it is a note that all D10 configuration is supposed to be allowed to form tetrahedral complexes. Okay, and the D8 complexes with weak field ligand. Weak field ligand. D8 configuration with weak field ligand form tetrahedral complex, and D8 configuration with strong field ligand form square planar complexes. So not only nickel, but also nickel, platinum, and palladium. And one more exception is there. What is the geometry of PtCl42 minus? PtCl42 minus, whether it is square planar or tetrahedral.
സർ PT നിക്കലിന്റെ അതേ ഇതല്ലേ?
അതെ.
അങ്ങനെ വരുമ്പോ സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനാർ അല്ലേ സാർ വരണ്ടേ?
നിക്കൽ ടെട്രാക്ലോറൈഡ് ടെട്രാഹെഡ്രൽ ആണ്.
പക്ഷെ നിക്കൽ ടെട്രാസയനൈഡ് സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനാർ ആണ്.
അതെ, ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ ക്ലോറിന് എഴുതിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. എന്താ വരിക ആൻസർ? അപ്പൊ അതുപോലെ പലേഡിയം Cl42 മൈനസ്. What is the geometry of these two complexes? Tetrahedral or square planar? Hello?
Square planar.
Why?
Because it have D8 configuration weak ligand.
What?
D8 configuration അല്ലേ sir?
So D8 configuration with weak field ligand ആണെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ tetrahedral എന്നല്ലേ പറഞ്ഞേ? D8 configuration with a strong field ligand only forms square planar complexes. The chlorine has weak field, right? But നിങ്ങളുടെ ആൻസറിന് വല്ല ചേഞ്ച് ഉണ്ടോ? Is there any change in your answer now? Hello. So your answer is correct. These two complexes are square planar. Why it is so means actually nickel is the first transition series, first row transition series, and there is another second and third row transition series. They are, that is platinum and palladium. Okay, so the major contributions of that variations, okay, whatever the variation that I have said for nickel, that is D8 configuration with a strong field, weak field, and whatever the variations for all other configurations, that is D1, D2 up to D9, these variations happen only for first row transition elements. Okay, the second and third row transition elements always forms low spin complexes. What do you mean by low spin complexes? They would not have any unpaired electron. Even they have unpaired electron, it is very low, less in number. Okay, which means the second and third transition metal itself has some energy to get paired. Okay, we know that there is a in second and third law, there is a lanthanide and actinide contraction. Okay, the second law is actually starting from lanthanide, and the third law is actually starting from actinide. So there will be a lanthanide as well as actinide contraction corresponding to these different rows. Okay, so the size that we are expected is obviously smaller than the actual one because of this lanthanide and actinide contraction. So in order to release that size, actually we are expecting a size of x and the actual size is y. This y is less than x. That is why this lanthanide as well as actinide contraction is coming out. Okay, so this decrease in size is actually overtaken by usage of some kind of energy. And this energy is actually they are using for pairing. Okay, so whatever be the ligand coming for second and third row transition series, they are always forms low spin complexes. You got it? Hello? Hello? Do anyone have any doubt in this session? Hello?
Sir, once that concept with exceptional case.
Exceptional in the sense, actually, all no, in for second and third row, they are all forming what you may call this low spin complexes. There is no high spin complexes in second and third row series for transition elements. This low spin and high spin that we are actually defined for only for first row. Okay, I will explain what are the parameters affecting the magnitude of delta. That is actually we have been studied the splitting in tetrahedral as well as splitting in octahedral, right? So the tetrahedral splitting delta T is equal to 4/9 delta O. That is, octahedral splitting is somewhat larger than tetrahedral splitting. And in the same way, square planar splitting is 1.3 times of, which is equal to 1.3 times of octahedral. So the order would be, the splitting in tetrahedral is much lesser than in octahedral. The higher one is square planar. This is the order of splitting. Energy order, this is the energy order. If it is wavelength order, we have to reverse it. Okay. Now, the factors affecting the magnitude of delta. Factors affecting magnitude of delta. First one, oxidation state. Oxidation state of metal ion. oxidation state of metal ion. So oxidation state increases, splitting also increases. Oxidation state increases, splitting also increases. For example, for cobalt 2 plus, the delta O is 9200 centimeter inverse. For it is cobalt 3 plus, the splitting is around 20,760 centimeter inverse. By increase in the unit positive charge of the cobalt in oxidation state, there will be a huge difference in the splitting value.
Sir, increase alle sir.
That is increase. ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് ആ ഡിഫറൻസ് കാണിച്ചതാണ്. Second one, same oxidation state, different electrons in d orbital. Okay, same oxidation state, but the number of electrons in the d orbital is different. For example, again, cobalt 2 plus, which means it is D7 in configuration. Okay, so it is 9200 centimeter inverse. It is nickel 2 plus. So the electronic configuration is D8. So what is happening is the splitting is getting decreasing. Okay, as the number of d electron increasing, the splitting would be decreasing, because the nucleus charge is same, but the number of electrons goes on increasing, which means the splitting is decreasing.
Sir, bottom side of the board.
Okay, and the third one is principal quantum number difference. Principal quantum number difference. So that is what I have said just before. We are just focusing on cobalt 3 plus. This is n equal to 3. Then n equal to 4, it is rhodium 3 plus. Then n equal to 5, iridium 3 plus. These are different transition series. This is first row, second row, and third row transition series. What is observing is for cobalt 2 plus, it is around 23,000 centimeter inverse. When it coming to fourth series, it may around 34,100 centimeter inverse. When it comes to iridium, it is 41,200 centimeter inverse. So what do you understand from this? As the principal quantum number increases, the splitting goes on high. Why it is happening so? For each row, the molecule are bigger in size. Compared to this cobalt, rhodium is bigger in size. It is coming down the group, right? So coming down the group, the molecular size, the electronic size is getting increasing, which means a new shell is added to this. Okay, so the d orbitals are increasing, but the electron density is getting decreasing. Okay, the electron density is getting decreasing. That is what actually happening here. New orbital is adding, so the d orbital is somewhat higher. Okay, when we are comparing the rhodium, iridium with cobalt. But the electron density, what do you mean by density? When an available space, if you are considering as discrete space, the electron density in that space is somewhat lesser when comparing this rhodium and iridium with cobalt. Okay, so that decrease in electron density actually what will lead is actually to, so the approach of ligand to this metal orbital. Okay, the approach of ligand with this metal orbital is obviously more towards to larger d orbital. എവിടെയാണോ വലിയ ഡി ഓർബിറ്റുകൾ ഉള്ളത് അങ്ങോട്ടേക്കായിരിക്കും ലിഗാൻസിന്റെ അപ്രോച്ച് ഉണ്ടാവുക. അങ്ങനെ ലിഗാൻസ് കൂടുതലായിട്ട് ഉള്ളിലേക്ക് ബറി ചെയ്തു പോകുമ്പോൾ what is happening, they will feel more repulsion. So in order to reduce that repulsion, they will separate as far as apart as possible. Repulsion വളരെ കൂടുതലാവുമ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് വളരെ ദൂരം സെപ്പറേറ്റ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടതായിട്ട് വരും. That is what happening in second and third row. When in cobalt, that is in first row, the d orbitals are somewhat smaller in size. Okay, so the ligand just focus only on that. I think, is there any confusion? Hello? Yes. Hello. Is there any confusion on this concept? Why this principal quantum number quantitatively affecting this splitting factor?
No, sir. Okay.
Shahnaz?
No confusion, sir. Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have any doubt? Okay, then we can go for the other factor, that is strength of ligand. Strength of ligand, that is actually spectrochemical series. These are just simply by the strength of ligand only. So there is a series arrangement based on the strength. I think you can get it from some other sources. If I write it, it will go long. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that you have to know where these ligands are coming in spectrochemical series, which is coming first, which is coming last, not all, at least the middle of the series. And the idea you should know. Somehow they see series directly, you can come in, you can ask us a question. Okay, so you have to know what are the ligands in the series and which are coming at first, which are coming at last, what are the middle in between. So you can keep it in some not as a code, something like that. Okay. So the fifth one is number of ligand. So this is only applicable for tetrahedral and octahedral. We know that in tetrahedral 4 ligands are there, for octahedral 6 ligands are there. So when it coming from tetrahedral to octahedral, crystal field splitting is increasing. But the square planar complexes also have 4 ligands, but the highest splitting is happening in square planar complexes. This is some exceptions. The highest splitting is that we can observe is from square planar complex.
Sir, number of ligands ഇതിന്റെ സ്റ്റെബിലിറ്റി സ്പ്ലിറ്റിങ്ങിനെ അഫക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നതല്ലേ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത് ഇവിടെ?
അതെ അതെ അതെ.
ഇപ്പൊ ടെട്രാഹൈഡ്രല് 4 ലിഗാൻസ് ആണ് ടെട്രാഹൈഡ്രൽ ഫോം ചെയ്യാൻ വരുന്നത്.
അതെ.
അപ്പൊ സ്പ്ലിറ്റിങ്ങിന്റെ കാര്യമാണോ സാർ ഇപ്പൊ പറയുന്നത്?
അതെ. ടെട്രാഹൈഡ്രൽ 4 ലിഗാൻഡേ ഉള്ളൂ. അപ്പൊ അതിനാണ് ഏറ്റവും ആ T2G EG ഗ്യാപ്പ് ഏറ്റവും കുറവ് ടെട്രാഹൈഡ്രലാണ്. T2G EG അഥവാ EG T2G, whatever it is. When it comes to octahedral, there are 6 ligands, so the splitting is somewhat higher than that of tetrahedral. But in the same case, square planar complexes also have only 4 ligands, but they have been showing somewhat large difference, that is large splitting in square planar complexes.
Square planar കുറച്ചുകൂടെ splitting കാണിക്കുമല്ലേ sir?
കൂടുതലായിട്ട് കാണിക്കും, because if you are looking for square planar complexes, the ligands are obviously from strong field ligand. Okay, if they are forming square planar complexes with weak field ligand, they are obviously from third and fourth row transition method. ഒരു ഫസ്റ്റ് റോ ട്രാൻസിഷൻ എലമെന്റും ഒരു വീക്ക് ഫീൽഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ലിഗാൻഡ് കൂടിയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനാർ കോംപ്ലക്സസ് നമുക്കില്ല. This square planar complexes always forms with strong field ligand or third and fourth transition metal. Third and fourth transition metal കാര്യം നമ്മൾ അവിടെ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു. They are somewhat smaller enough. Okay, ഈ ഒരു lanthanide actinide contraction കാരണം they are forming somewhat lower in electron rich. Okay, avരുടെ electron density is somewhat low. So the ligands tends to approach in a direction that where the electron orbital are more crowded. D orbital എവിടെയാണ് crowded എന്നുള്ളത് നോക്കിയിട്ടാണ് അവർ, കാരണം നമുക്കറിയാം fourth and third row series the electron എവിടെയാണ് electron fill ആവുന്നത്, where the electrons are filling up in and third and fourth row. Hello, where this filling is happening in third and fourth transition series?
3D and 4D orbitals.
4D filling, actually in 4D, in third orbital, in third principal shell, actually D is the maximum possible orbital. But when it comes to in 4D, one more orbital is possible over there, that is F orbital, right? So even if there is no electron also, an F orbital is there for fourth and, that is fourth and fifth transition series. F orbital is also there. Okay, so the ligand has to buried into that 4D by overcoming, going through that 4f orbital. ആ 4D ലേക്ക് അപ്രോച്ച് ചെയ്യണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ it has to overcome by passing through 4f orbital. Okay, so for all those steps it need energy. So in order to make that combination, in order to minimize that combination in the sense repulsive interaction, in order to minimize that all kind of repulsive interaction, it has to increase their energy. Increase in the sense that T2 and EG orbital has to split far as possible. അവർ രണ്ടുപേരും എത്രത്തോളം സെപ്പറേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നോ, that much easily that ligand can recombine with the atomic orbital. That is what this square planar complexes has this much of splitting. പറഞ്ഞത് മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ടോ? Hello?
Yes, sir. Clear, right?
Okay. So these are the major 5 factors affecting the splitting value. Okay. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഇപ്പൊ ടെട്രാഹെഡ്രൽ ഞാനിപ്പോ എല്ലാത്തിന്റെയും ഏകദേശം ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു രൂപം ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ വരയ്ക്കാം. This is E T2 T2G EG T2G EG. ഇത് സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനാറിന്റെ, ഇത് ടെട്രാഹെഡ്രലിന്റെ, ഇത് ഒക്ടാഹെഡ്രലിന്റെ.
തെളിച്ചല്ലോ സാർ ഇത് മാർക്കറിന്?
ഇങ്കിന്റെ പ്രശ്നം. So we know that the tetrahedral splitting is very low. So actually the lower orbital is E orbital, in the sense they are 2 orbitals are there. So what are the possible way of filling that 2 orbital completely? So D4, isn't it? D4 in the sense 1, 2, 3, 4. First it will fill first one, the other electron will goes to the second one. And the next question is, if the third electron is coming, what will happen? It again goes to the first orbital, or it will goes to the higher one? That is the question. This defines this complex is to be low spin or high spin. Okay, if that electron is pairing the first orbital, then it is called low spin complexes. If it is going to the higher one, which means it is high spin complexes. Okay, I'm asking you that whether the third electron is going to higher energy or it will get paired. What will happen?
Electron goes to higher energy.
Higher energy. Why? Because the splitting is very low, right? അല്ലേ? സ്പ്ലിറ്റിംഗ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വളരെ കുറവാണ്. അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് എന്ത് പറയാനായിട്ട് പറ്റും? ടെട്രാഹെഡ്രൽ കോംപ്ലക്സിൽ ഫോം ചെയ്യുന്ന എല്ലാ കോംപ്ലക്സുകളും what kind of orbit complexes are forming by tetrahedral complexes? They are all high spin complexes. Okay, all the tetrahedral complexes are high spin. So we have to arrange in that way. Okay, if they are giving a configuration with a D5, how will you write D5 configuration? One, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the correct way of writing D5 configuration in a tetrahedral complexes. Okay, then the 6th electron is coming again to the first orbital. Okay, this is how the tetrahedral complexes are forming. When it comes to octahedral complexes, there are 2 chances. Here only we have 2 chances. That is depends on the ligand. Okay, actually we are considering water as a moderate ligand in the spectrochemical series. The ligand coming after to the water are considering as strong, and they are the ligands which are coming before to the water are considering as to be weaker one. So if a weak ligand is coming, the splitting is lower. Okay, if weak ligand is coming, the splitting is low, so the electron can goes to higher energy level easily, which means 1, 2, 3. The fourth one can easily jump to higher energy if the ligand is weak. So in octahedral complexes, weak ligand forms high spin complexes. Okay, strong ligand forms low spin complexes. So there are two possibilities. So if a strong ligand Cn minus Co, No, like the ligands are coming, the fourth electron also get paired here because the splitting is very large. Okay, when we are considering the square planar complexes, always form low spin complexes. No need to consider the high spin, whatever be the ligand. Whether it is weak or strong, if it is square planar in geometry, it always form low spin complexes. So I'm just asking you that the complexes whether it's low spin or high spin. Okay, I will write some of the complexes here and you just find out whether the complexes is low spin or high spin. Okay. You don't need to go for this series number of electron and all those things. You can just simply have a look, and you can say the answer.
ഫസ്റ്റ് വൺ ലോ സ്പിൻ അല്ലേ സാർ?
First one, low spin. Yes. Second one,
ഓക്സിഡേഷൻ നമ്പർ കൂടുതലല്ലേ?
for cobalt.
അപ്പോ അതിന് സ്പ്ലിറ്റിംഗ് കൂടുതലായിരിക്കും.
അതെ. Splitting കൂടി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ
ലോ സ്പിൻ ആയിരിക്കും.
Cobalt 2+ അപ്പോ
ഹൈ സ്പിൻ ആയിരിക്കും.
yes. So this is low spin, high spin. don't need to think more because rhodium, ruthenium are third and fourth transition series. So it will also form low spin. Whatever be the ligand, you don't bother about that. It is second and third transition series, right? It is not coming in the first row. Only for first row, you have to think about whatever the ligand strength, whether it is strong or weak. If it is in the third and second, you can say simply it is low spin. Okay, and what about this?
High spin.
This is high spin. You are saying it is high spin. What is the oxidation state of nickel in this complex?
Oh, nickel 4 plus.
Nickel 4. Actually, nickel is normally we are expecting nickel is in +2 oxidation state, right? So now it is in +4 oxidation state. So the oxidation number is very high. So this is also low spin complexes with the diamagnetism. Even
Okay,
the ligand is very weak. The oxidation number is very high. So as the charge of metal ion increases, the ligand have with electron density which can easily attack the metal center. Okay, the positive and negative charge will get attracted more easily. So it can coming fast towards to metal ion. So what will happen? The interaction that the electron richness in the metal center also get repelled with the electron richness in the ligand center. So in order to minimize that repulsion, it will maximize what we call maximize their splitting factor. Okay. Is it fine? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now we can go for crystal field stabilization energy. That is CFSE. Crystal field stabilization energy. For this, we have to consider whether the complexes is low spin or high spin. Okay. Do you want to consider the D1 configuration is low spin or high spin? The complex.
High spin.
No, there is no need to consider whether it is low spin or high spin. It is D1. Only one electron is there. So it always has to goes with lower orbital, lower energy orbital. There is no need or there is no meaning to say this is to be a high spin complex or this is to be a low spin complex. Okay, so this is simply T2G1 EG0. So what would be the crystal field stabilization energy? So that minus 0.4 delta O is the stabilization factor into number of electron in the orbital. That is T2G have one electron and T2G orbital is stabilized by 0.4 delta O from the Barry center. So it is minus 0.4 delta O. And similarly for D2, D3, you don't need to consider whether it is low spin or high spin. T2G2 EG0 and T2G3 EG0. Simply minus 0.4 delta O into 2 minus 0.4 delta O into 3 minus 0.8 delta O minus 1.2 delta O. when we are going to D4 system, there are two possibilities. E2G3, EG1. This is high spin possibility. E2G4, EG0. This is low spin possibility. So this is again minus 0.4 delta O into 4. Here minus 4 delta O into 3 plus 0.6 delta O into 1.
സാർ, ഈ പോസിബിലിറ്റി നമ്മൾ നോക്കുന്നത് അത് വരുന്ന ലിഗാൻഡും അതിന്റെ ഓക്സിഡേഷൻ സ്റ്റേറ്റും ഒക്കെ വെച്ചല്ലേ സാർ നോക്കുന്നത്?
അതെ അതെ, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കോംപ്ലക്സ് തരും. കോംപ്ലക്സ് എന്നാണ് നിങ്ങൾ ഇതിനെ ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. Okay. So rest of them you have to do, and one more thing you have to keep in mind that for low spin complexes with D6, so the different possibilities are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is high spin combination. Whereas in the case of low spin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so while we calculating the crystal field stabilization energy here, 0.4 delta O into, it is 4 plus 0.6 delta O into 2. So there will be a value. Here it is minus 0.4 delta O into 6. What is the answer? Can you please tell me? So here it is minus 1.6 plus 1.2. So it is around minus 0.4 delta. Yes. And one more thing you have to keep in mind that is only for low spin cases. Only for low spin cases you have to consider the pairing energy. So in low spin complexes, the starting itself they are getting paired. Okay, but in case of high spin, after the completion of one set of filling, then and only they are getting paired. Okay, then what you have to do is we just compare both the configuration, and in this set there are 3 pairing orbitals are here. Here it is only 1 pairing orbitals are there. So in order to make the other 2, for both only 1 set is there, right? So that pairing energy get cancelled in each other. So 2 more pairing energy is somewhat additionally is there that we are not predicting by CFSE. Okay, so we have to add this additional pairing energy to the CFSE. That is minus 2.4 delta O plus 2P. That is additional 2 pairing energy is there when we are comparing the same configuration with high spin. Okay, so if it is D7 configuration, 1 more pairing energy will be here, and the 7th electron goes here. So there are two pairing energy that can be cancelled in both high spin and low spin. So what you have to write in low spin D7 configuration D7, you have to add that energy and add plus one pairing energy. Along with this might be another value. Along with that, you have to add one pairing energy for D7 system. If it again D8, all are get cancelled and simply the value would be there.
Pairing energy concept ഒന്ന് പറയാമോ sir, please?
Pairing energy. Okay. If you are considering D6 system, there are two ways in D6 system can arrange, that is in both as high spin as well as low spin. High spin, this is the way by which we are writing. So the crystal field stabilization energy comes around -4 delta O. If you are arranging it in a low spin system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the CFSE value will be -2.4 delta O, not simply this 2.4 delta O. 6. Okay. So if you are adding the 6th electron, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th electron is coming as pairing. So some kind of pairing energy will be needed to pair this electron. Right. In the same way, the first, second, and third orbital all are paired here. Okay, so this also a pairing energy. It also need a pairing energy. This also need a pairing energy, and this also need a pairing energy. So when we are comparing this high spin and low spin, one pairing energy get cancelled, and two more additional pairing is there in low spin configuration of D6. So that also we have to add up with the crystal field stabilization energy. Okay, if it is D7 system, in high spin, one more electron is getting paired. But in low spin, what is happening? That electron is going to higher energy level. So in high spin, when we are comparing this high spin and low spin configuration of D7, two are paired. So that two pairing energy can be cancelled to each other. So one more additional pairing is happened in low spin system. So in D7, whatever the CFSE value you are getting, you have to add one pairing energy along with that. Just simply 1p. We don't know how much value it may take.
Sir, the low spin and high spin which we compare sir.
Only for low spin complexes you have to mention this pairing energy, not for high spin complexes. So for
okay, sir, clear, right?
For D6 and D7 system, you have to write this pairing energy term also. For D8, there won't be have any pairing energy. All are get cancelled. Okay. So next is Jahn-Teller distortion. Jahn-Teller distortion. Have you heard about this term? Jahn-Teller distortion.
Yes, sir.
No, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So this is a kind of distortion. In order to, why this distortion is happening? to get more stability to the compounds. They are reorganizing their atomic orbital in order to get an extra stability to the complex. That is why this distortion is happening. Okay, so this distortion is happening because of unsymmetrical filling in each orbital. The major consequences, major cause for this Jahn-Teller distortion is unsymmetrical filling in each orbital, not in P2G. We are mainly focusing on each orbital. I am talking about static Jahn-Teller. Okay, static Jahn-Teller means which is permanent, not dynamic. Unsymmetrical filling in each orbit. That is in this way. So this is in D4 configuration with high spin, right? D7 low spin. D9. It can be either high spin or low spin. For D9 only, this is the possible way. So this is the unsymmetrical filling in EG orbital, that is orbital present along in the axis. So I am writing here this electron in the first orbital. Okay, now I am considering the first orbital as dx square minus y square and the second orbital as dz square. Okay, now this is the case in which the electrons are present in the first orbital. The electrons are present in the dx square minus y square. So there is no electron in the dz square. Here also there is no electron in the dz square. Here also the unsymmetrical arrangement is happening in the dz square. There are another possibility that that electron can go to that dz square. Here also that unsymmetrical arrangement is coming in the first orbital also. So this is also possible, right? Because they are both are equal in energy when the ligands are approaching. After the approach only, they are getting some kind of distortion is happening. That is observed by Jahn and Teller. They are called as Jahn-Teller distortion. Okay, so now this is the case. Okay, and now I am going to choose any one. We can take that D9 configuration. Now, two electrons are in dx square minus y square. One electron is in dz square. Okay, so what is happening is, we know that for octahedral complexes, the ligands are approaching through axis. So these two orbitals are lied along the axis. So in this orbital, 2 electrons are there. In this orbital, only 1 electron is there. So which orbital felt more repulsion when the ligands are approaching? Hello? Which orbital would felt more repulsion when the electrons are getting approaching?
സാർ ഡി എക്സ് സ്ക്വയർ വൈ സ്ക്വയർ രണ്ട് ആക്സിസിലും ഇല്ലേ സാർ?
രണ്ട് ആക്സിസ് ഇല്ലല്ലോ, ഇങ്ങനെയല്ലേ കണ്ടു?
അത്
സോറി, ദിസ് ഇസ് ദി z സ്ക്വയർ.
മറ്റേത് രണ്ട് ആക്സിസിലും
അപ്രോച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഏത് ഡയറക്ഷനിലാണ്?
Yes, I am asking that which orbital will experience more repulsion when the ligands are approaching. It doesn't matter whether it is present in one axis or more than one axis. So which orbital would experience more repulsion when the ligands are approaching through axis?
രണ്ട് ഇലക്ട്രോൺ ഉള്ള ലിഗാൻഡ്.
Yeah, that is dx square minus y square. So this will experience more repulsion, right? So in order to minimize this repulsion, this x and y axis has to move far apart to each other. Got it? In order to minimize this repulsion, it won't be affected to the nucleus. If this repulsion affected to the nucleus, then the complex would become unstable. So without they don't have to inform that we are experiencing more repulsion to the nucleus. So what they are doing is they will make a far apart to each other, then that repulsion will be minimized. So it won't get into the nucleus. Our repulsion our nucleus in the okay, so this x and y are getting more elongated. So what happened to this z axis? They are compressed with respect to x and y. So this kind of elongation what we are called z in. Z axis goes to somewhat inner. So that can be represented by like this. Z axis somewhat inner. And otherwise we can call tetragonally compressed. Tetragonally compressed. Okay, if the case is reverse, what will happen? The repulsion is more experienced by z axis. So in order to minimize this repulsion, the z axis has to elongate in a long way. So what is the representation? So z out, z axis goes out, tetragonally elongated. Tetragonally elongated. Okay, now we are going to discussing about the molecular orbital diagram of this z in and z out. You got it? How they are distorting? Why they are distorting? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
So this is T2G, this is EG. After I am writing Z out first. Okay. So once it goes in higher energy once it get elongated, their energy will be the minimum. Or Z out. Sorry, energy will be minimum. This is Z out. Z out means Z axis get elongated, which means the energy of Z axis is get reduced. So wherever this Z component is coming, the energy is less than that of the other one. That is why this XZ, YZ, they are lesser in energy when compared to DXZ. Sorry, DXY. When these two are comparing, the Z component, wherever it is coming, they have lesser in energy than the other one. Which axis is getting elongated? That has the lower in energy now. So this is Z out configuration. What will happen if it is Z in? It will ulta. Here it is dxy, and this xz yz goes to upper, and here is also getting interchanged. Okay. So what I have written here, this is tetragonally elongated, that is Z out. From Z out, we can easily make the square planar complexes. How? We can remove that elongated axis, right? If we are again lengthening that elongated axis, we will get this square planar complexes. What will happen if we are again elongating that Z axis will be in always lower in energy. So you just replace this to, that is d z square comes here, dxy goes there. Now this is the orbital diagram for square planar geometry.
സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനർ ആയപ്പോ എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു?
സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനർ ആയപ്പോ ഇത് രണ്ടും ഇന്റർചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്തു. ഡി സെഡ് സ്ക്വയർ ഇതായിരുന്നു മുന്നേ സെഡ് ഔട്ടില്. സ്ക്വയർ പ്ലാനർ ആകുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ സെഡ് ആക്സിസിനെ ഒന്നുകൂടെ വലിക്കുക, അപ്പൊ അവരുടെ എനർജി ഒന്നുകൂടെ കുറയും. അപ്പൊ ഡി സെഡ് സ്ക്വയർ താഴോട്ട് വരും, ഡി എക്സ് വൈ മുകളിലോട്ട് പോകും.
ഓക്കെ സർ. ഇസഡ് ഇന്നോ?
ഇസഡ് ഇൻ ഞാൻ മുന്നേ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നില്ലേ? ഓക്കെ, ഇത് വരച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞോ? ഇസഡ് ഇൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ
ഇല്ല സാർ, ഒറ്റ സാർ വരച്ചോട്ടെ. ഓക്കെ സാർ, ഓക്കെ.
ഇസഡ് ഇന്നില് ഡി എക്സ് വൈ ഇവിടെ വരും, എക്സ് സെഡ് വൈ സെഡ്, ഇവിടെ ഡി എക്സ് സ്ക്വയർ മൈനസ് വൈ സ്ക്വയർ, ഇവിടെ ഡി സെഡ് സ്ക്വയർ. ഏത് ആക്സിസ് ആണോ ഇലോങ്ങേറ്റ് ആവുന്നത് അവരുടെ എനർജി കുറവായിരിക്കും, ആ കമ്പോണന്റ് വരുന്ന ആൾക്കാരുടെ എനർജി കുറവായിരിക്കും. ഇൻ ദാറ്റ് വേ യു ക്യാൻ കീപ് ഇൻ മൈൻഡ്. Okay. Fine. Okay, then we can wind up today's session. The next session we have to find out, we have to learn what are the applications of Young color distortions and some other molecular orbital theory concept. Okay. So thank you.